"Is there an expired cake my daughter can have?" The words hung in the air of the small bakery like a confession. Emma's voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. The woman behind the counter froze. The other customers turned to stare, and standing just 3 feet behind her, a man in an expensive black coat went completely still. Emma felt her daughter Lily tug at her worn jacket, those innocent 7-year-old eyes looking up with hope that was about to be shattered. The man behind them, Vincent Kane, tilted his head slightly. He'd heard desperate pleas before, threats, bribes, but this quiet humiliation from a mother trying to give her child a birthday stirred something he thought had died years ago. Before we continue, comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Now, let's see what happens next. Emma was 32, but the exhaustion in her eyes made her look older. 2 years ago, her husband died in a construction accident, and since then, life had been a relentless battle. Double shifts at the hospital, bills piling up, and today was Lily's 7th birthday. All her daughter wanted was a cake, just like the other kids at school had. Something simple, something normal, but normal costs money Emma didn't have. The baker, a kind-faced woman named Mrs. Chen, shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry," she said gently, her voice full of genuine regret. "We can't sell expired products. It's against health regulations." The words were polite, but they landed like stones. Emma felt her cheeks burn. She knew people were watching. She could feel their pity, their judgment, the uncomfortable silence that comes when poverty walks into a room and demands to be acknowledged. Lily didn't understand regulations or policies. She only understood that once again, she was different from the other children. "Mommy," she whispered, her small voice cracking. "You promised." A tear slipped down her cheek, and Emma's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She knelt down, eye level with her daughter, fighting back her own tears. "I know, baby. I know. Maybe next year we'll get you the biggest cake ever, okay?" But Lily was 7. Next year felt like forever. Vincent Kane stood behind them, his face expressionless, but inside, something was cracking. He was a man who controlled empires, who made grown men tremble with a single look. He owned half the city's underground businesses, had wealth beyond measure, and commanded loyalty through fear and respect. But family? Love? Those were luxuries he'd never known. He'd grown up in foster homes, forgotten birthdays, empty promises. He'd built his empire alone, and he'd lived alone. Until this moment, that had been enough. He watched Emma take Lily's hand and turn toward the door, her shoulders slumped in defeat. The other customers looked away, relieved the uncomfortable moment was over. Mrs. Chen busied herself rearranging pastries, guilt written across her face. But Vincent didn't look away. Something about the way Emma held her daughter's hand, the way she tried to smile through her own breaking heart, the way Lily looked back at the cakes one last time. It reached into the cold, dark place where Vincent Kane kept his humanity locked away. And for the first time in decades, he felt it stir. Emma pushed open the bakery door, the little bell chiming as they left. She didn't see Vincent step up to the counter. She didn't see the look in his eyes. She didn't know that in the next few minutes, he was about to make a decision that would change all 3 of their lives forever. If you're loving this story, hit that subscribe button for Love is Kindness. We share stories that restore your faith in humanity. Now, let's see what Vincent does next. Vincent waited until the door closed behind them before he moved. He walked to the counter, his presence commanding without effort. Mrs. Chen looked up, and something in his eyes made her straighten instinctively. "I'll take everything," he said simply. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Everything premium you have, every cake, every pastry, box them up." Mrs. Chen blinked, confused. "Everything? Sir, that's at least 40 cakes, decorations, the whole display." Vincent pulled out his wallet. "I know what I said." He counted out bills, far more than necessary, and slid them across the counter. "There's extra there. I need them delivered within the hour. Mrs. Chen hesitated, then nodded slowly, sensing this wasn't a man you questioned. Where should I? Vincent recited the address he'd overheard Emma mention to Lily earlier. Something about going home to their apartment on Cedar Street. And Mrs. Chen, he added, leaning forward slightly. You say nothing about who sent them. Nothing. Understood? The baker nodded quickly. Understood. An hour later, Emma sat in her small apartment, holding Lily as her daughter's tears finally subsided. The place was clean but heartbreakingly sparse. One bedroom they shared, a couch with patches covering worn spots, a small kitchen table with mismatched chairs. But it was home. It was safe. And Emma had worked herself to exhaustion to keep it that way. She was about to start making dinner, something simple, maybe spaghetti, when the knock came. Emma opened the door cautiously. A delivery man stood there, barely visible behind towers of pink and white boxes. Behind him, two more workers carried even more boxes, balloons, decorations, ribbons. Ma'am, delivery for Lily, he said cheerfully. Emma's mouth fell open. There must be some mistake. I didn't order anything. The man checked his clipboard. This is Cedar Street, apartment 3B, right? Emma nodded slowly. Then, it's no mistake. He and his team began bringing everything inside, transforming her tiny living room into a wonderland of sweetness and color. Lily appeared from the bedroom, her eyes still red from crying. Then she saw the cakes. Her gasp was pure magic. Mommy, she whispered, her voice filled with awe. Mommy, look. Emma stood frozen, her mind racing. Who would do this? Why? How? The delivery team finished, tipped their hats, and left before she could find words to ask. Lily ran to the boxes, carefully opening one. Inside was a beautiful princess cake, exactly like the ones she'd seen in the bakery window. She opened another. Chocolate. Another. Strawberry shortcake. Another. Cupcakes with perfect frosting flowers. There had to be 20, 30 cakes, maybe more. Balloons floated to the ceiling. Streamers and birthday banners covered the walls. Emma's hand shook as she found a small card tucked into one of the boxes. She opened it, and the words blurred as tears filled her eyes. Every child deserves magic. Happy birthday, Lily. That's all it said. No name, no signature. Just those words. Lily was laughing now, spinning in circles, her earlier sadness completely forgotten. She was 7 again. Just a little girl on her birthday, surrounded by more cake than she'd ever dreamed of. But Emma broke. She sank onto the couch and cried, really cried. For the first time since her husband died, she let the tears come. Not from sadness this time, but from overwhelming gratitude, from the shock of unexpected kindness, from the realization that somewhere out there, someone saw her struggle and cared. But who? Who would do something like this? Emma wiped her eyes and looked at the card again. She had to find them. Had to thank them. Had to know who saw her at her lowest moment and chose compassion instead of pity. Tomorrow, she decided, clutching the card to her chest. Tomorrow she would find out who her angel was. She had no idea that her angel wore expensive suits and had a reputation that made strong men afraid. She had no idea that behind his cold exterior, Vincent Kane had just felt something he hadn't felt in 40 years. He'd felt like maybe, just maybe, he was capable of good. The next morning, Emma stood outside the bakery again, the card still in her pocket. Mrs. Chen looked up as the bell chimed, and something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe guilt. Emma walked straight to the counter, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Please, she said. I need to know who sent those cakes. I need to thank them. Mrs. Chen shook her head quickly, busying herself with the register. I can't say. I was told not to. But Emma didn't move. She'd worked double shifts for 2 years. She'd faced loss, poverty, and endless exhaustion. She wasn't leaving without answers. Please, Emma repeated, softer now. Someone gave my daughter the best birthday of her life. I need to know who. I need to thank them properly." The baker's resolve crumbled. She glanced toward the door, then leaned in close. "The man yesterday," she whispered. "After you left. Vincent Kane. He bought everything. Paid for the delivery. Told me to say nothing." Emma felt the blood drain from her face. Vincent Kane. Everyone in the city knew that name. He wasn't just wealthy. He was powerful, connected, dangerous. The kind of man you didn't approach, the kind of man you stayed far away from. Why would someone like him, someone with that reputation, do something so kind? 2 hours later, Emma stood outside Vincenzo's. The upscale Italian restaurant everyone knew was just a front for Vincent's real business. Her hands trembled, but she pushed through the heavy front door anyway. Immediately, 2 men in dark suits stepped forward, blocking her path. "Ma'am, this is a private establishment. You need a reservation." "I need to speak with Vincent Kane," Emma said, surprised by the firmness in her own voice. The men exchanged glances, barely suppressing smirks. "Mr. Kane doesn't take walk-ins. You need to leave." But upstairs, in an office with monitors showing every angle of the restaurant, Vincent had already seen her. He leaned forward, studying the screen. The woman from the bakery. She'd found him. He pressed the intercom. Let her through. The security guards looked confused, but stepped aside immediately. Emma walked through the restaurant, past tables of well-dressed diners, past waiters who watched her with curiosity. She climbed the stairs to the second floor, where a door stood open. Vincent waited inside, standing by the window, hands in his pockets. He didn't look like a villain. He looked tired, lonely. "Why?" Emma asked, the word catching in her throat. "Why would someone like you do something like that for us?" Vincent turned to face her. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes held something raw. "Someone like me," he repeated quietly. "You mean someone with money? Or someone with a reputation?" Emma hesitated. "Both." Vincent walked to his desk and leaned against it. "I grew up in foster homes," he said simply. 6 different ones before I aged out at 18. No one ever threw me a birthday party. No one ever asked what I wanted for my birthday. Most years, no one even remembered it was my birthday." He paused, and for a moment, Emma saw past the expensive suit, past the powerful persona, to the boy he used to be. "I built everything I have from nothing, clawed my way up, made choices I'm not proud of. But yesterday, in that bakery, I saw your daughter's face." His voice softened. "I saw myself in her eyes. I saw the childhood I never had, the birthdays that came and went without cake, without celebration, without anyone caring. And I saw you, trying so hard to give her what I never got." Vincent looked directly at Emma now. "So I did what no one ever did for me. I made sure she had her magic." Emma felt tears streaming down her face again. She didn't know what to say. This man, this feared, untouchable man, had just revealed a pain so deep it made her own struggles feel less lonely. "You didn't have to," she whispered. "I know," Vincent replied, "but maybe that's exactly why I did." The silence between them felt heavy but not uncomfortable. Then Vincent did something that surprised even himself. "Could I?" He hesitated, his confidence faltering for the first time. "Could I come to her party? Just for a few minutes. I'd like to see her enjoy the cakes." Emma studied him. This man, this complicated, powerful man who the world feared, was asking permission to attend a 7-year-old's birthday party. She saw the loneliness in his eyes, the genuine hope, and something inside her softened. "Okay," she said quietly. "Tomorrow at 3. But Vincent, it's just us, nothing fancy, just me, Lily, and now you." He nodded, and for the first time in years, Vincent Kane smiled. A real smile. "That's perfect." The next day, Vincent stood outside Emma's apartment door, feeling more nervous than he'd ever felt closing a $1 million deal. He knocked. Lily answered, her eyes going wide when she saw him. Emma appeared behind her. "Lily, this is Vincent. He's the one who sent all the cakes." Lily's face lit up like sunshine, and before anyone could say another word, she grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. Within minutes, Lily had placed a bright pink birthday hat on Vincent's head. He looked ridiculous, this powerful man in an expensive suit wearing a sparkly princess crown, but he wore it anyway. Emma watched from the kitchen as Lily showed him every single cake, explaining in detail which one was her favorite and why. Vincent listened like it was the most important conversation he'd ever had. And maybe it was. He was awkward, clearly unused to children, unsure how to sit, what to say. But he was trying. And Lily, beautiful, innocent Lily, didn't see a dangerous man. She saw someone who cared. Someone who showed up. Emma felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't the man people whispered about. This was just Vincent, lonely and trying to connect. 6 months later, everything had changed. Vincent had become part of their lives, not as a romantic interest, but as something Emma didn't expect. Family. He showed up for dinner twice a week. He funded Lily's private school tuition, insisted Emma cut back to normal work hours. When Emma protested, saying it was too much, Vincent simply said, "Let me do this. Let me be part of something good." Now, another birthday had arrived. Not Lily's this time, but Vincent's. Emma and Lily surprised him at his restaurant with a homemade cake, lopsided and imperfect, but made with love. Vincent stared at it, at the crooked candles, at Lily's handwritten card that said, "Happy birthday to the best friend ever," and his eyes filled with tears. 43 years old, and this was his first real birthday party. They sang to him, the three of them in his office, laughing as Vincent pretended to blow out the candles but let Lily help. Emma watched them together, this unlikely little family they'd formed, and felt her heart swell with gratitude. Vincent had found what he'd been searching for his whole life, a place to belong. And Emma and Lily had found something too, support, security, and proof that kindness can come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes angels wear expensive suits and have reputations that make people afraid. Sometimes they have pasts filled with darkness but hearts that still remember how to hope. Sometimes they show up exactly when you need them most, disguised as strangers in bakeries who overhear your desperate prayer. Vincent Kane had built an empire alone. But now, surrounded by a little girl's laughter and a mother's grateful smile, he'd finally built something even more valuable, a family. And for the first time in his life, Vincent Kane was home. Sometimes angels wear the most unexpected faces. What did you think of Vincent and Emma's story? Rate it from 0 to 10 inches the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe to Love is Kindness for more stories that restore your faith in humanity. Thank you for watching, and remember, one act of kindness can change everything.